First of all, I want to thank Crow Camp for having Athlete Plus at their camp, doing this and providing this workshop. I want to thank Pedro, Christian, and Marino, obviously, for working with us. Steve, also thank you for this introduction. Guys, I have a very special guest, that not only are experts in their field, they're excellent coaches, but also they're very good friends of mine. Cody Toppert, who you can see with LSU cap. Cody has been a person that I know from a long time ago, who built his career as an athlete, high school and prep, college, and NBA. Most notably, he worked for Houston Rockets, for Phoenix Suns, from University of Memphis, and now he's a coach for LSU, Louisiana State University. On the other hand, we have Ken McDonald, who also was a guest of mine during one of the first ever NCAA certified showcases in Serbia, a long time ago, around 15 years ago. And Ken is also an expert, former NCAA Division I head coach, who his career most notably was at University of Texas, University of Tennessee, Western Kentucky, and also was a coach with the Spurs and USA national team. These two guys have enormous amount of experience, not only in USA, but internationally. And today I would like to talk to them about, most importantly, life of a student athlete at a Division I level. In today's industry, a lot of athletes are dreaming about playing in Division I, NCAA Division I level. But do they really understand how tough, how challenging, and how different environment is for student athletes at this level? So within that, guys, first of all, thank you. You took your time to be at this workshop and really appreciate you. First question, and Cody, we can start with you. How different is a lifestyle, expectations, responsibility, dynamics of a student athlete at NCAA Division I comparing to his dynamics as a student at a high school and prep level? How different is the life of a student athlete at Division I level?
Yeah, I think the big thing that's different is the time requirement. Most of the time, obviously, student athletes are coming away from home, from all different places. You're being put into a system that's going to be highly structured. And, every morning at LSU, our guys are having breakfast at 8:30 a.m., one meeting every morning. So we're getting together then, and then we're going our separate ways to our individual film sections, then we're going our separate ways to class. Things like study hall, take that part of your time as well. And then obviously you've got your team practice. After your team practice, our guys are required to get to eat together in the evening as well. And we're not even in the season right now, we're in the off season. So there's really a lot of different elements that are going to take up the time, to the point where by the time you get back to your dorm, late in the evening, not only are you exhausted, but you've got to start your homework. So there's no question it's a significant commitment. You have to understand on the weekends, you can really be good at 2 out of 3 things. You can be good at basketball and academics, or you can be good at social and academics, and social and basketball. And unfortunately, if you choose social, and one of those other two suffer, it could mean a short career.
Thank you, Cody. Ken, what about you? How can you describe a difference?
Yeah, I think to echo off Cody's comments, it's in college and at the pro level, the expectations obviously are very high, and there's probably more structure, and the expectation of work and routine and competition, it's kind of, there's really no choices to make when you get to the college and pro level. You're kind of got to do it. And there's great structure and talent around you with the staff and the players. to be honest, it's probably harder as an amateur, as a high school kid and middle school age, because you almost got to be self-motivated. You know, I commend the players at the camp. That's a big step. Going to camps is a big thing. But, you know, we don't give our guys a lot of choices in college and at the pro level. You just got to do it. Whereas you might have more wiggle room as an amateur per se, and a high school player and a young player, because, you know, you got to find ways to get better against not as good a competition and maybe not as good resources that you have at the college and the minor league level and the pro level. So, you know, like I said, you gotta be extremely motivated to try to make it and try to figure it out as a young player. And I would say that's the major differences that I've noticed.
Thank you, Cam. And I know certainly it's the challenge of every high school athlete, specifically being a senior, junior, senior. How do you actually prepare for a mental pressure that existed in that environment? That ultimately, you know, nothing can prepare you. You just have to, I think, through organization and discipline, that's the only way to take the mental pressures that await for you at the NCAA Division I level, even in other levels. And that takes me now to a second question, guys. And that is, what is your theory? Why so many transfers every year? And what are some of the causes? How would you categorize different reasons for players transferring or being asked to transfer? And can we start with you first about that?
First of all, it's weird. I have mixed emotions about the transfer rule changing. But I do understand it. It's easier to transfer. That's like the first thing. It is easier. You know, before with having to sit out, so many people would stay in their situation for the right or the wrong reason, simply because of not wanting to sit out the whole year. So now it's a little bit easier. It's also a cultural thing. I think, you know, I'm older than probably everyone here. So it's toughing, you know, going through tougher times and just accepting that and trying to figure out a way to make things work. That's kind of how I grew up. It's a little different now. It's a little more like when you're a little uncomfortable. I feel like some players, not all players, are transferring for that reason in general, kind of looking for a situation that maybe is better, but also maybe not as uncomfortable. And I go back and forth whether that's the right way to look at it, the right way to handle it, and those things. I would say this, you know, wherever you go to get to the highest level that you want to play, I'm sure if I asked everybody to raise their hand, everyone would want to play in the NBA. And there's only 350, 400 jobs to have. So at that level, if you look at it that way, it's always going to be uncomfortable trying to make it there. Yet you have a lot of guys thinking that there's a little bit of an easier way and trying to try maybe get it to a different situation. But, you know, the other thing too is coaches, we promise a lot to players, and I would tell all the guys in the room right now, you know, everyone's going to say the right things when you're being recruited. And that's not always the case. That's not always the case, because then you have to settle into a role. It's different at the NBA level because you're being paid. So, you know, you can tell a guy to pretty much do whatever they want and settle into a role, and it's different because you're it's a profession. So, you know, I guess what I'm saying is you're going to have to go through some uncomfortable times and work it out yourself and figure it out in your own mind. And hopefully you don't see this transfer rule. You don't see more and more and more going to other schools, because I'm not sure it's always the right answer.
Cody, can you give us your opinion?
You know, I mean, Coach McDonald made a lot of great points here. But I'd also add, even if you have the monetary aspect, there are guys who have to still play a role. The majority of them, 99.9% of them, have to play a role. And even some of them were getting paid handsomely to do so. have trouble with that. The ones that stick are the ones that understand and embrace that. So a lot of people in today's culture have a tendency to mistake coaching for criticism. I think that's one reason why people transfer. They don't understand that coaching is there to help you get better, to improve, like as McDonald said, to put you in uncomfortable situations so that ultimately you can be better. And so with that lack of understanding, people can take offense to hard coaching. I'm not saying there aren't bad situations that require a change, because I think that in some cases there are. However, I tend to agree with Coach McDonald in that, there is no perfect situation. And, you might transfer to another school and think that everything is going to be perfect. And once you get there, you realize that's not the case. Life is flawed in general, right? There are always going to be issues, problems to deal with. So the big key is, how do you deal with it, right? Things won't get easier on you. What you have to do is get better at dealing with difficult things that come along. And I think that's the biggest thing. Now, the transfer portal, there's really, to me, two types of transfers. Well, really three. There's the ones that are asked to leave, which usually we have issues off the court, character-wise, academic-wise, things of that nature. There are the ones who leave because, like Coach McDonald touched on, they're not happy with their role, or they're not happy with how they're being coached. They think they're being picked on, something of that nature. And then there's the others who maybe were at a quote-unquote lower level, a different conference, and playing really, really well, and think that they need to transfer up a level to prove that they can do it on a bigger stage. And I think the big question when guys are looking to transfer is, which one of those buckets do you fall into? And you need to ask yourself that question. Am I running from a problem? Because you can run from problems all you want, but unfortunately what you usually end up finding are that you can't get away from them, and that's because you tend to be the problem, right? Are you in search of a bigger stage, so to speak, in which case I've seen that work out well, and I've seen it work out terribly for certain guys. Or are you in search of a different role? And in which case, you have to ask yourself, why did you not have the role that you want, right? Some of those could be not quite controlled by you, depending on the roster makeup, but some of them, and quite a few of them, I'm sure, in my experience and Coach McDonald's experience, are actually controlled by the player. And, you're looking at things like guys who, want to start, and they're the last one to show up to the gym for practice. You're the first one to leave. So, you really got to kind of dial into some of the details. I do agree with Coach McDonald that I don't have a problem with kids having the opportunity to leave, but you really got to do a deep dive into why and make sure that you're not just seeking change for the sake of change.
Mm-hmm. I love how both of you touched on a very, very important point. And I would like to emphasize this to all the athletes at Crow Camp. And that is that in most cases, the way you're going to grow your career is embracing your role. At your club, what is coaching asking for? And if you master that role, then you can easily gain the confidence from the coach. And then you can obviously step by step grow into the position and a role that potentially you want to play. But embracing your role from the moment you arrive, and first thinking, how can I add to the team? How can I help the team? And what coach is asking for me is the first step toward being successful in your team and in your club. So yes, very good points, coaches. Okay, my next question is, what would be your advice for athletes that are struggling getting Division I scholarship offers, but yet they are getting interest from Division II, NAIA, Division III, or JUCOs? We are seeing a lot of players who are expectations are high, and in some cases with the right, but we know how tough the recruiting industry and how tough it is now to get a full scholarship directly from a high school or even a prep. What would be your advice for those that are struggling getting this scholarship, but yet they're getting interest from other quality schools from other levels?
Well, just kind of going back to the whole the transfer element, that's a factor that's negatively impacting high school kids. And then, we also have a thing now in college basketball called NIL, which is also impacting high school kids. And this is how. In the past, certain players, certain guys would have to leave school to try to go make money, provide for their family in certain circumstances. Sometimes they weren't ready. Most of the time, you could probably argue that they weren't ready. However, they needed to do that. There was a desire, like a need for them to go and make money. Well, now college athletes can earn money, so there's less of a need to frantically make your way into the professional ranks. You can be more patient. What that means is the college game is getting older, and as the game gets older, that means that the athletes that are playing, I coached a kid at Memphis last year. Andre Williams is older than Devin Booker, and he's still going to be back to play another season of college basketball. Now, that means a couple of things. Number one is he's taking up a scholarship that can't be given to a younger player. That's number one. Number two, what that means is he's an older player, and usually, I can tell you, most of you won't reach the prime until you're about 28 or 29 years old. He's stronger, more experienced, and things of that nature. So therefore, it's becoming a little bit harder for good, and I'm talking talented, I'm talking highly rated, highly touted level players to just show up on a college campus and have an impact. Because the game is quite simply getting older. When you also look at it from the transfer perspective, right now a lot of colleges and universities, what we're seeing is all of these kids enter the transfer portal. When the kids enter the transfer portal, me as a college here at LSU, I might be more inclined to look at somebody who already has college experience. So I'm looking at them to come in rather than recruit a high school kid and wait for his development. That negatively impacts things. And as you're evaluating your own recruiting, I think it's very important to, number one, go where you're wanted, because that's where there will be a plan for your success. Right? If you have to beg your way to get onto the team, then more than likely you're probably one of the last options for the team. And that can very negatively impact your development. Whereas if you go to a different place, maybe it's a Division II school, and I can tell you from experience, there's a lot of Division II schools that are better than a lot of Division I schools. But if you go there, there's a plan for your development. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you may have a tremendous career. And again, with the transfer portal, individual basketball is your dream and you're successful at the Division II level, then perhaps you'll have the opportunity to transfer up. So there's a lot of different factors that are going into this. But first and foremost, anybody to me who is saying it's Division one or bust, I think that's a bit of a short-sighted view. And I think you just have to make sure that you're evaluating each opportunity in each university.
For that, I see we lost Ken, probably a connection. Cody, question for the younger audience. Who is the most favorite NBA player you coached and why? We just got Ken back.
Sorry, Ken. My phone got too hot.
It's an actual heat. It's an actual heat.
You want me to answer that last one?
Yes. Actually, I was about to jump to another question, but Ken, for the time purpose, if you don't mind, I would like to ask you both same question. And this is a little bit for our younger audience. Who is your favorite NBA player that you coached? And why is your favorite NBA player? What are the characteristics that you really admired with some of the NBA players out there?
This is a tough one because, so fortunately I've been around some really good, Cody, obviously some great players. The easy ones are the Kevin Durant's, the LaMarcus. So I've been very fortunate to be around guys that made us coaches look very good, very easily, right? So those are great. Like Kevin's a great example because he was in the gym first. He was in the gym last. He was coachable. I mean, if anyone didn't have to be coachable, it was Kevin in terms of how talented he is. But his work ethic, along with the talent, obviously made him just a mega ultra star, right? So those are exciting. But like, I've coached guys in the G League. Like one of my favorite kids ever around was a kid named Jonathan Simmons, who made it from basically nothing. He left college early, made a huge mistake leaving Houston early, was not ready, was not drafted, basically came to an open tryout for the G League, and I got to work with him for 2 years. But he bought into exactly, 2 to 3 things he really needed to improve on. He had all the athleticism, but he really needed to polish up his game and work on some specific areas of his game. And he just kind of came in not knowing anything and just had a total buy-in factor. And to watch that kind of story develop over 2 years and make it, and he ended up signing, I think, close to, a $15 million contract about 4 years after I had him. Those kinds of stories to me are just very fulfilling. And the kid was tough. He watched people around him making it that maybe were not as talented. So it was frustrating for him. So you saw the frustration, but how much heart he had and how much endurance and how much perseverance he had was just so impressive. And to me, Jonathan Simmons is one of my favorite guys I've ever been around. And a lot of guys probably never heard of the guy. You probably, you might have saw him against, the Rockets and some different people in the playoffs a few years back. But to me, that's a personal favorite.
Thank you, Ken. Cody?
Yeah, I'll just say, two guys. One will be along the same lines as Coach McDonald here, and actually, both kind of be along the same lines. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be with Devin Booker and be around him, and what I truly, love and respect about him, and really several things. One is saying that I really like, and that is, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. And Devin Booker is just a great human being. He treats everybody well. If you guys have Instagram, you can go to my Top 33. We wish my daughter Kinsley happy birthday today. Send her a video. Things like that he usually have to do. He just signed a $20 million contract. The last thing he needs to be doing is sending a video to my daughter, but he still did it. So that's just the type of person he is. He's also not the most gifted athletically, not tremendous length, doesn't come out of the gym. But when he does everything that Coach McDonald said that Kevin Durant and some of the other great ones do, and that is he's the first in the gym, he's the last to leave. So he's got to root for him. And he's one of those guys, and not everybody's like this. Some of these guys, when you meet them, you wish you hadn't met them because you're disappointed. Because some of them, I'll be honest with you, they do have an ego. There's no doubt about it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you have good habits. If you didn't make it doesn't mean you have bad habits. So that's an important thing that I think everybody here needs to remember. And the other guy, that's a little bit more relevant now, he just signed a $30 million contract, and that's Gary Payton II. Now, Gary Payton he didn't even play Division I straight at high school. He went to junior college. As did, I think, did Jonathan Simmons go junior college too this year? Did he go junior college before Houston?
Did Simmons?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so.
Yes, he did.
Same thing with Gary Payton II, a junior college product, Salt Lake City Community College. Then he went to Oregon State, kind of grandfathered in there in his father's footsteps. And then he crawled around in the G League for 5 years. Never gave up on his dream.
Yeah.
Found the right situation. And, obviously his life's been changed forever because of that. But it's a testament to his relentless effort and his ability to fit into, like Coach McDonald said, fit into that role. A lot of guys say hey, they want to be outside the box, don't put me in the box. The reality of it is, you get right in the box and stay there and fill that box up the right way. And the game of basketball can do great things for you.
Momir.
Yes.
I would have nightmares if I did not mention that when I was with San Antonio, I got to coach and be around Boban as well. Yes. I can't believe I didn't go in a Boban love fest tirade, because he is one of my favorite people on the planet, and I mean so much fun and so much talent in that guy. But anyway, I'm sorry, I forgot I had to mention him.
Gentle giant, yes. I want to initiate another point that you guys made through this testimony, and that is that no matter how talented you are, people are noticing and see your character, and ultimately your character defines you as a person. And this is another very important message for all the players in the camp. No matter if you're the best player in the camp or not, it is your character that the coaches will notice first. So make sure you be good to others, make sure you be a good person, you have a respect for your coaches, and then obviously work hard on your game. Steve, because of the time sensitivity, and we are taking a very valuable time from these guys at the moment, we have only one question from the audience. Can you choose somebody, and let's ask one question to obviously both coaches.
What does it take for an undersized guy to make it to D1? What skills?
Okay, so if I understood, what type of skills the undersized guard needs to have in order to get a Division I scholarship? Ken, can we start with you first?
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, you better be tough. There better be a toughness factor. You better be able to prove that you can probably defend guys that are bigger than you. So you better not be a liability that way. And then I'd say defensively, and then on the offensive side, that you can bring pace to the game. Obviously, if you could shoot the ball, that's a plus. But you could also possibly create for others. If you're small, whether you're a 1 or a 2, you can create offense for yourself, or you can create offense for your teammates, and that's a real value.
Thank you, Ken. And Cody, are you there? Can you hear us? Can you add to this?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I'll just say this in general. In today's game, if you can shoot, you can play. When I'm out here recruiting kids, the ones that can make shots really, really stand out. And the other stuff, don't get me wrong, I don't want to discount any of this stuff, because you're undersized already, right? You've got to want it more than some of the other guys, and you've got to be tough, and definitely have to be able to defend your position, and hopefully, create for other people. But if you're undersized, and maybe you're playing with two undersized guys in the backcourt, I'm telling you, being able to shoot the basketball, is one thing Steph Curry taught us, is the importance of that, and that it can really help nullify any other physical limitations that you may have. So I definitely make sure that you're working on that ability for sure.
Yeah, and Mo, to piggyback on that, one last comment, study the game, study guys that have done it before you that are small. Like, now there's some guys that are just lightning quick. Maybe they're more athletic than you are, but you get a feel for that from guys that have done it before you. And it's hard to watch just NBA guys sometimes. So there's enough resources now to watch guys too. I think it's important to study the game.
Coach Ken, Coach Cody, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you guys.
Hey, good luck to the group. Good luck, you guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
I think Steven wants to show a little appreciation from the crowd.
What's up, guys?
See the form.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
See you, Cody. Good luck.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
likewise.
Mo. Thanks, Steven.
Bye bye.